again, all my fellow Star Trek fans. I hope you're having a great week, and it's already December, and I got a really cool little goodie to share with you guys today. And yes, it's about Star Trek. In particular, this absolutely beautiful lady right here, we've all come to know and adore. But the one that I'm going to show you doesn't light up. It's actually from Eaglemoss, and actually I've shown you the Gold Enterprise. We have the Gold Enterprise as well as the William Shatner signed one. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you guys the finished model, the XL version of the U.S.S. Enterprise NCC-1701. And it's the collector version, and it's going to have the box and all the little goodies. So why don't we go over to the desk where there's more light and there's more room, and I'll show you guys Master Replica's XL special version of the NCC 1701. Okay, like I was saying, we have the special edition, the box, and we've got Star Trek, the official Starships collection. Of course, this is Eaglemoss Hero Collector. U.S.S. Enterprise NCC 1701, and this is the XL version. And at the side of the corner, you can see a little peek. We have the Enterprise A, the beautiful NCC 1701. Looks like part of the Enterprise C. Looks like the Enterprise B. And looks like we got a Klingon bird of prey over here, and we have the Enterprise E. And it kind of follows to the side of the box. You can see the NCC 1701D, the U.S.S. Voyager, the Klingon battlecruiser, and it looks like the Enterprise NX-01 on the bottom, and you can see the other half of the Enterprise C. Looking at the other end of the box, you can see it's got the same illustration and basically what's on the cover. And I think it's the same thing that's on the side of the box. Both sides, actually. Yep, the official Starships collection, the Enterprise NCC 1701. Okay, and we look at the back of the box. It's got the information on the release, and this was released in 2020. This is STS UK 601 059072. You can see all the copyright information and everything. So why don't we go ahead? I'm going to open it up. And let's see, it's got this, this has already been opened. Alright. So let's go ahead and flip the box. You can see the top of the box is the beautiful Star Trek Starships collection. And it shows you it's also available. We got the D. I have shown you guys the Enterprise D. And we've done a comparison between the finished XL and the gold model. This model is part of a collection of die-cast replicas of Star Trek ships. Each model is based on extensive research and wherever possible the original CG models used to create effects for the TV show and movies. Also available, we got the Enterprise NCC 1701E. I had wanted to get that XL in gold. I just couldn't afford it. Anyway, that's Hero Collector, and when you look into the box, because this was a special edition, we've got the magazine, and this is Eaglemoss Collections, the official Starship collections from Star Trek. And look at that beautiful cover, U.S.S. Enterprise NCC 1701 special issue. She's a Constitution-class starship, 289 meters long, with a crew of 430, and she was launched in 2245. So looking in, we got the table of contents. You can see the making the cage. The voyage begins, casting Star Trek where no man has gone before. And we got the Enterprise NCC 1701. I just love these little magazines. I wish all of them came with this. Interestingly, the gold one, William Shatner Gold Enterprise I showed you guys, does not come with the magazine. We got the stand assembly. It shows you how to do it. and it shows you can go to StarTrekStarships.com and shop online. Now it's Master Replicas, because there's no more Eaglemoss, so that's not an entity anymore. So MasterReplicas.com if you want to search for some of the Eaglemoss stuff. So looking over, we have the specifications for this absolutely beautiful lady. When she first appeared, it was the Cage, the unbroadcast, and revised and When No Man Has Gone Before. And the last time we see her is in Turnabout Intruder, designed by Matt Jeffries, captained by Captain Kirk and Captain Pike. You can see some of the pictures, especially the one in the middle. This iconic, beautiful starship. I love that picture. And of course, if you're my age, you grew up with the show, I always thought she was white. And then I remember how blown away I was when I found out she was gray. And it was never the same, because I like her in white better. The voyage begins. Star Trek that Gene Roddenberry envisioned in '64 was both incredibly familiar and surprisingly different. One of the key... I'm going to put the light on. It's a little bit hard to read on the black background. One of the key ideas in Roddenberry's original pitch for Star Trek was that the ship would be parallel Earths with human-looking inhabitants and societies that had developed in familiar ways. You can see there's another picture on the other side. The first episode of Star Trek that was themed or filmed, The Cage, showed the crew member and commander Captain Pike and featured a much more emotional version of Spock than we are used to. The hidden meanings. Roddenberry proposed that the series would make use of existing studio facilities by visiting planets that had developed in parallel with Earth, meaning that they had or might resemble the Wild West, Chicago in the 30s, or ancient Rome, all of which Hollywood was set up to recreate on a regular basis. The pitch also featured several ideas that would go on to become episodes, including Charlie X, a piece of the action. Most importantly of all, Roddenberry saw science fiction as a way of telling meaningful stories. His idea was to use the setting to provide metaphors that would allow him to explore issues such as racism without upsetting the network censors. In addition to that, issues like the Vietnam War and everything that was going on back then was very, very present in Star Trek. Looking at the next page, you can see Jeffrey Hunter, the original captain. Actually, Captain April was the original captain of the Enterprise, but we're introduced to her with Jeffrey Hunter as the captain. And Marjo Barrett, she at the time was #1, but Paramount didn't feel that a woman could be in second in command, so they ended up having her take off the wig and just becoming Nurse Chapel. Pike was played by Jeffrey Hunter, and in The Cage comes over as a more troubled character than Kirk. His first officer, #1, who played by Marjo Barrett, had many characteristics that would eventually be given to Spock. And then we have the Doctor. It's funny how the Doctor, like, we look at him and we see, oh, Doctor of the Enterprise. We look at DeForest Kelley and we see Doctor of the Enterprise. Don't forget, Mika, I'm trying to remember his name, but his name on the Rifleman, you guys might know him as the Marshal. Mika also played the Doctor. So there were 3 different Doctors for the first 2 pilots and the production run. You can see the transporter room on the bottom. So the top, the ship's Doctor left was called Boyce, and was played by John Hoyt. Mr. Spock, at present, but he was first lieutenant rather than a science officer. The transporter room was introduced as a way of saving money, since it meant the ship didn't have to land on the surface. So think about it, if they had to take the filming model and every time they went to the planet, they had to film it either landing or taking off. And then we've got a lovely Orion slave girl. Let's see, what does it say about her? The cage provided one of Star Trek's most memorable images when the Telosians presented Vina as a green-skinned Orion slave girl. And look at the communicator. It's a lot like the one that was from, what was it? Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan had that kind of vibe to it. And you can see Vina, Captain Pike in number 1. Most of the familiar equipment was in place, the cage, but looked different. The crew had lasers, not phasers, and the communicators were gold. I love these pictures. Look at the behind-the-scene pictures. From left to right, Susan Oliver, Gene Roddenberry, and Bob Butler. Bob Justman on the set of The Cage. The sequence they were shooting is an illusion created by the Telosians, but is only the time we saw on Earth in the original series. They even had his horse. I think his name was Buster, and he even had a sugar cube in his pocket. And all right, this is what I love. Okay, look at the sketches of the different ships of the Enterprise, and you can see the beautiful, beautiful filming model on the bottom. To many of the drawings that Matt Jeffries produced, he designed the U.S.S. Enterprise. His brief was to come up with something that had never been seen before. Look at that. Love it. And on the bottom, the original Starship Enterprise model being filmed by Howell Anderson Company, who provided effects for the original series. The model underwent subtle revisions between the Cage and regular production, but despite the differences, the earlier shots were too valuable not to be abandoned. Of course, she was gorgeous. Okay, so looking at the Telosians, believe it or not, the lead Telosian is actually played by a female. Even though they had chosen the script, NBC felt that The Cage was too cerebral and serious. It was, after all, a story set mostly in the mind. It's got another little excerpt I want to read to you. It's Moment of Truth. Desilu duly screened their pilot before a group of NBC executives, including the head of programming, Mort Werner. Hoping for a well-earned spot at the head of the job, well done. But although the screening went well, NBC studio executives ultimately decided that a captain clearly suffering from the stress and strains of his life and contemplating leaving the service altogether to become a horse farmer was too cerebral. However, they were sufficiently impressed with the quality of production and Desilu's proven ability to have pulled it off what was clearly a difficult script, and acknowledged that the wrong story had been chosen to showcase the series. With that in mind, they announced they were prepared to finance a second pilot. Casting Star Trek. You can see William Shatner and Jeffrey Hunter. When it comes to casting the first captain of the Enterprise, NBC made it clear that they wanted to establish stars, such names as James Coburn, Rod Taylor, George Siegel were tossed about, as well as Peter Graves and Jack Lord, Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. and Warren Stevens, while Gene Roddenberry made it clear that Lloyd Bridges, then known for playing an ex-Navy SEAL in Sea Hunt, was his first choice. You can see Mr. Spock. The character of Spock, the half-human, half-alien officer, Roddenberry had set his sights on Leonard Nimoy, who had featured in Lieutenant, so he already had him in mind for the role. Mr. Scott, in an early draft of Where No Man Had Gone Before, the role of chief engineer was purely functional. When Roddenberry decided a character needed fleshing out, director James Goldstone recommended James Doohan, whose talent for accents led to the engineer becoming a Scotsman from Aberdeen called Montgomery Scott. Number one was telling you guys is Marjo Barrett. The network didn't really care for her as second in command, so she became the nurse. And surprisingly, they don't have a picture of Lieutenant Uhura. NBC's policy of anti-discrimination led to the casting of African-American actor Lloyd Haynes as communicating as Officer Alden. But on the verge of starting work on the series, Roddenberry decided the character should be female and suggested a young African-American actress who had worked with the lieutenant, Nichelle Nichols, and I'm very happy she ultimately became Uhura. She was like my first crush. When it comes to the doctor, DeForest Kelley was Roddenberry's first pick to play the ship's medical doctor. Philip Boyce in The Cage. Kelley was a contract actor who had appeared in a support character in a number of big Hollywood movies, such as Gunfight at the OK Corral, Raintree County. But when NBC announced they wanted a better-known actor for the role, John Hoyt, who had appeared as a host of TV series from Gunsmoke to Hogan's Heroes, was cast. When NBC commissioned a second pilot, Roddenberry again put forward DeForest Kelley's name, but this time the role of Dr. Mark Piper was given to veteran actor Paul Fix, best known for his work in westerns, and that was Micah, who I was telling you about. It was when NBC greenlit the first season, the series had Roddenberry finally got his wish, and DeForest Kelley signed on to play Dr. Leonard Bones McCoy. You can see the different doctors. There he is, Micah right there. In the first one. The captain's yeoman. And I've always been very fond of her. For obvious reasons. She has always been my absolute favorite. Let's see. Where no man has gone before, against all odds, Star Trek has been given a second chance, but making the second pilot would be far from plain sailing. Star Trek The Second Pilot, Where No Man Has Gone Before, featured the new captain, new costumes, and a more upbeat attitude. We're introduced to William Shatner as Captain Kirk. The new captain would be portrayed by William Shatner, who brought confidence and charm to the role. In response to NBC's notes, Pike's self-debut was banished, and in his place, Kirk had a definite sense of humor. And that's not to take anything away from Jeffrey Hunter. I think Jeffrey Hunter would have made a great captain, too. You see Mr. Spock. The network was concerned about Spock, but despite promising to put him in background, Roddenberry actually expanded his role, giving him several pivotal scenes with Captain Kirk. In the early days of Star Trek, it was given that the cast would include attractive yeomans. In the second pilot, the character became Yeoman Smith, and Yeoman Smith is my favorite all-time yeoman. Several familiar faces had first appeared in the second pilot, including George Takei. But of the point, Sulu was a scientist rather than a helmsman. James Doohan was in place as the chief engineer. Paul Fix, however, only made a single appearance as the ship's doctor. And look at that. About half the sets needed for the series had to be built on time, where No Man Has Gone Before was limited before it was filmed. As more sets were built, Jeffries constructed a model to show the directors how the soundstage was laid out. Isn't that freaking awesome? Can you imagine being able to go through that? The corridors of the Enterprise, the bridge, hangar bay, engineering, sick bay, the transporter room. Oh man, that's so cool. Man, that would make a great model, wouldn't it? Built from scratch. Okay. Lieutenant Alden is one of the great lot of characters of Star Trek. He would have been a regular cast member, but he was replaced by Lieutenant Uhura when the show went to the series. And of course, I mean, it's got to be Uhura, right? Absolutely. The ship's helmsman was called Lee Kelso, but although the audience might have expected him to become a series regular, He died towards the end of the episode. We get Mr. Chekhov later. The story focuses on the ship's navigator and Kirk's close friend Gary Mitchell, who gains superhuman powers after passing through the barrier at the edge of the galaxy. As he became more powerful, he became less human and less moral, and Kirk must decide how to deal with him. Is that it? Yep, that's everything in the book. So I love these little books, these little wealth of information. Yeah, it's general knowledge, but it's still nice, it's refreshing to see. Okay, so let's put that aside. We'll put that right there for now. We have the phone, and this one is broken. And it must have been broken prior to being put in the box, because look, you can see the navigation dish that's up on top, and it was intentionally put there. Yeah, so this was too much to, yeah, this is going to be returned, but I want to go on with the video. So this is going to be another fail. All right, so this is a fail. But I still want to show you guys the ship. So we got the deflector. Is you can see the nacelle where it broke off. Beautiful NCC-1701. So when we look at the base, you can see this is U.S.S. Enterprise NCC-1701 Special. This is number 0398-AA. And we got the little goal posts, and what these do, you can tell the difference. It goes in right there, and this one is a little narrower than the D, but I don't know if it's going to be I'm not going to put the stand together only because the ship isn't balanced and it might not hold. So we got that. When we pull her out, you can see she's absolutely gorgeous. Unfortunately, man, let's see if this will stay on. See the way this is made, it's not, maybe I can hold it in place. U.S.S. Enterprise, and we have the back, the bridge. We got the impulse engines, and this is going to keep falling off. So let's show you guys the bottom. We got the sensor dome, so that won't stay on, so I apologize for that. And I tell you, this thing was too expensive to have it like in this condition. So you can see that gorgeous NCC-1701. We got the bridge, B and C decks. We got the turbo lift in the back. Coming around, we got the impulse engines. And let's see if you guys can check out the shuttle bay and the bottom of the ship. I don't know if I can see. I'm not going to glue this because it was too expensive to keep, so I'm going to return it and get one that's not damaged. I mean, this thing came from a long way. This came from Australia. It's very unfortunate. You can see where the deflector dish is all broken off. Let me show you where it would have gone. would have gone right there. And what it would have done is you put it in this way and you kind of back the ship into the little grips, and that's how it would stay in place. But my friends, this was the Eaglemoss, the XL version, and unfortunately I got to classify this video as a fail because it's just, I mean, it's destroyed. Very poor condition. So my friends, if I get another one soon, I'll make another video and I'll make an update video. But this one, unfortunately, this one's going to go back and this is a fail. So I apologize for that. You guys have a great week, and until my next Star Trek video, I'll talk to you guys soon.